There are moments in your life where everything changes in a split second, not because of some huge explosion, but because of a single sentence you never saw coming. For me, it all started with a question that completely flipped my life upside down. Hey boo, what's up? Grab a seat, it's your Aunt Beth, and we need to catch up. So, I absolutely hate unsolved mysteries. I need closure and I need the truth to come to light. But I never expected the biggest unsolved mystery I'd ever face would be my own life. You guys, you think these things just happen in movies only, but I was about to find out this stuff really does happen in real life. But you know how there's just like scams out there, how it's all like staged and stuff just so people can make money? For years, I just thought I was an angry, rebellious kid who miraculously turned nice at 19 years old. My family laughed it off one night at dinner. I have ADHD, so I don't remember what we talked about, but I remember the feeling and the vibe of what it was we were chatting about and only certain little specific things. But that one specific thing I do remember. But during a casual sister date at Sweet Hut, which me and my sister did on a bi-weekly basis at different coffee shops and bakeries, one sentence broke open a vault of memories I didn't even know I had locked away. When I tried to ask for answers, my sister would just shut down. My mom would just cut off that part of the conversation if I brought it up and basically just blocked me from continuing to ask what happened. I was instantly shut down, and my dad would condense it and sugarcoat it and make it just seem like it wasn't anything, and like families do that all the time, or that's a normal thing that happens with families. Why was the door always being slammed in my face? Why was I constantly running into these roadblocks, you guys? I was so freaking annoyed. Like, what actually happened during those missing years? Why won't anyone talk to me? Now, to understand exactly why this sister date conversation flipped my world upside down in a split second, you need a little bit of a background on my childhood timeline. Because it all progressively ends up making sense as I tell my lore, basically. So, I think I was around 22 years old when this happened, or just somewhere around there. I was actually married at the time. I had gotten married at 22. And I was married for 5 years and went through a divorce at 27. And we will definitely do a whole separate series on that later once I finish this series, basically telling you about my life and you guys getting to know me, your Aunt Beth, since all you guys are my little cousins and nieces. But at this specific time, my sister and I would go on these sister coffee dates. When I was, I think, 22 years old, me and my sister would at times go get coffee, like a little sister date. So one day we were at a local bakery called Sweet Hut, also 10 out of 10, highly recommend. You guys, Sweet Hut is great. Be sure to go sometime. But we were just chit-chatting as usual, catching up on whatever. Me making my sister laugh, and at some point she asked me a question all nonchalant. Like whatever, like yada yada. That in a way flipped my world upside down. Now before I get too into this, you need a little more background. Because it all makes sense. At least for me it does. Like, it makes sense for the timeline. I was born in the state where my mom's side of the family lived in. I lived there for 6 years. Those were happy times, great memories. My mom has had epilepsy since she was a teen, but that's a story for another day, but it's relevant to the timeline as far as her medical condition and how severely it impacted her life and the others around her. Nothing you can do, like you can't control that. Like it's nothing you can do. But around 6 years old, my dad got a new job. So we moved all the way to where my dad's side of the family lived, all the way across the US, basically. We lived with my dad's parents, aka my grandparents, and my aunt, who was just right around my age. She was a late baby. We lived with them for a while to get established, and then we moved to our own home. So I was there a total of 7 years in that state. Then my dad got another promotion, so then we moved over one state. And I've been here ever since I was, I think, around 14 years old. and I will be turning 33 soon. Y'all take care of your health in your 20s, because all kinds of weird stuff just shows up as soon as the big 30 hits. All I remembered at the time of my childhood is that I was a very angry child who got in trouble a lot, who I had a hard time making friends. I'd only have like one or two here and there, and we went to church a lot. And at one time I was homeschooled when I was either in elementary or the beginning of middle school, and I think it was like elementary or it was middle school, the very, very beginning of it. They did put me in special ed, and I did ride the short bus. Also, the short bus is lit. It's the quietest bus ever. You get great sleep before you get to school. That's a story for another day. Also, turns out I wasn't even supposed to be in that, but I'm a woman, so that's all they knew to do with me. But you'll see it's relevant later. But I went to public school until it was time for me to go to high school. By the time 9th grade came around, I requested to be homeschooled for high school due to bullying that had happened in elementary and middle school, and just seeing how immature kids my age were. It was just off-putting. So I was like, I'd rather just be homeschooled for high school. So I did that. And me and my sister had also at that time were part of a ballroom dancing program for high school, homeschooled, and private school kids. And I ended up graduating a year ahead of my class, FYI, so homeschool was a great option because I graduated before everybody. When I was 19, all of a sudden, I guess I turned nice. I never noticed it. I was no longer an angry kid or teenager, and I just never realized it until my parents at times would talk about it passively at dinner or whatever, about how well they did raising me, saying, well, we must have done something right because you were the nicest person. Like, we don't understand it. Even though you were definitely a challenge as a kid, and they would just be cracking up because they're just like, what happened? And we would all laugh because, yeah, even I knew I was an angry kid, but I didn't know why. I was just like, yeah, I guess, I don't know, I'm glad I'm not that way anymore. I got married in 2016 when I was 22, and was married for 5 years, and then got divorced in 2021 when I was 27. And yes, there will be a separate series for that crazy subject later on. It makes sense how I was able to be in a relationship for that long, that I had withstood for like 5 freaking years, plus the 2 that we were boyfriend and girlfriend and engaged. And yes, as I stated before, there will be a series for that crazy subject later on. It makes sense how I was able to be in that relationship for so long. I was like basically built for that. I was being like pre-built, pre-programmed. And I started dating again when I was 28. And I'm now engaged as of October. I've been with my fiance for a little over 4 years now. It's nice to experience what a normal, healthy relationship is like. And I'm not just saying that like, oh yeah, I have a healthy... No, for real. For real. Once you're in one, you'll be like, oh, I get it. That other person was a total freaking weirdo. And I also got diagnosed with ADHD-C last year. My fiance called it early on, like within our first year of dating, since he also has ADHD. But I was like, nah, I'm just unique and funny as all. People just find me funny. My mom says it's because I'm good at art and I'm an artist, and most artists are like that. So I would just like pass it off like, hey, yeah, nah, it's not. Nah, ain't no way. So basically, you're all caught up. Now back to the question. If you were there and you overheard the question, you wouldn't think anything of it. So it's not like a crazy question, but if you lived the life I lived, craziness. Absolute craziness. But she asked while we were enjoying our cute little lattes, or whatever drink she got. She probably got boba, I don't remember. She said, do you remember when we had to wear those Little House on the Prairie dresses when we were little? FYI, Little House on the Prairie is one of the approved shows we were allowed to watch when we were little. More on that later. But this funny, stupid little question was such a big one. And all of a sudden, all these forgotten memories all came back at one time. Not all, but most that I had forgotten came back at one time in a split second. It felt like a scene from The Matrix when Neo takes the red pill and is all of a sudden thrown into the Matrix. FYI, that movie is 10 out of 10, highly recommend. I own them all. Watch on like a yearly basis. But basically, my eyes got wide, my jaw dropped, and I said, oh my god, I had totally forgotten about that. What the f- That was so weird. and then my sister said, I know, why did we have to do that? I said, I don't know, but I hated it. And we both just laughed endlessly. We were just talking about a few more things, such as how public school kids thought we were just really weird and how we used to be mimes and weird, and just laughed until we just couldn't breathe, which brought even more memories back. But all these memories, if you can imagine, just had like hole punches in them, and I'm like, I got like half of it or like most of it, but like there's these certain details that I'm like, does anybody remember? Can anybody answer my questions? And as I stated early on, nobody would freaking answer my damn questions. But she did say one thing that turned the conversation into a serious one. She started to look a little sad and said, I felt bad for the way that you were disciplined as a kid. To prevent her from getting any more sad, because I felt like I could have gauged the conversation in a way where I could have like made her cry. I could have been like, womp womp, sad, yeah, it sucked. But I was like, no, we're in a public space. I don't want anyone to cry when we're just supposed to be having a chill sister day. But I just sat back all nonchalant with a smile on my face. I said, oh, it's okay. It's all in the past now. I was a rebellious kid, angry kid, so I had to get disciplined. You were the more obedient one, so that's why you didn't get disciplined as much as I did as a kid. But I'm not like that anymore, so it's fine. She seemed to lighten back up a bit, but basically, rest of that conversation shut down. And we just jumped back to regular subjects about jobs and yada yadas and different things in our lives we just chatted about until we were done with our little sister coffee date. But I had so many questions, guys, with so many gaps in my memory. I wanted answers, but I didn't press her for them since she shut down that part of the conversation at that moment. Like, why couldn't I remember when she seemed to remember all these things? Like, what's wrong with my brain? I know now, but that's later on down the road situation. Later on, I tried asking my sister more questions to fill in the gaps, but she just made it clear that she didn't want to go there, like, ever. Always closing down the topic. It was just so frustrating. Every once in a while, she might give me like a little nugget and then be like, no, that's it. Oh, let's talk about this. I don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, it was frustrating. I realized later that we all process things differently, and while I wanted to dig up the past to understand it and fill in all the blanks, she preferred to leave it behind, kind of like head in the sand moment. But for me, I just couldn't do it. That just wasn't good enough. And my mom would do the same thing. That was unexpected as well, since, she was the main one I interacted with as a kid. But even she was more resistant, more than my sister was about the topic. But when it came to my dad, he would just give these nonchalant, seemingly sugar-coated, quick little answers in passing, treating it like it was just a normal phase every family goes through. From my perspective, he was always and is always very smooth with his words, making things sound like they're no big deal, which just left me feeling puzzled and confused. Because I'm just thinking to myself, why does it seem like no big deal for you and it's just totally chill and normal? And you make it seem like it was nothing, yet when I ask my sister or my mom, I get the door closed in my face most of the time. This is figuratively speaking. No one actually shut a real door in my face. That would be crazy. All I wanted were the missing pieces. That's it. I personally don't feel like I'm asking for much, because these answers will explain why I am the way I am and why I'm just such like an oddity in this world that's like outside the circle. Everybody's inside the cool circle doing all kinds of cool normal things and knows how to socialize and shit, and then I'm over here in my own little circle just doing whatever Aunt Beth is doing in that moment. But that still wasn't good enough. I just couldn't leave it alone. I can't do it. I don't know if it's the ADHD. It probably is. But just like, it's like, it's like there's 8 episodes in a series and you only get to like 3. And you're like, I need to know more. And the show just cuts off and you just lose your mind. I still had more questions the more I started to remember more bits and pieces, but I wanted detailed answers. I wanted to like know like what the vibe was. Like I wanted to know the details. None of this sprinkle fairy dust shit. Like tell me. Just tell me. It felt like an unsolved mystery, and FYI, as I stated before, I hate unsolved mysteries. It leaves me stressed out and frustrated and in a not nice mood, and I'm not really one to talk to if I watch like a really cool documentary and find out in the end, oh, that person's still missing. I want to throw a rock at the TV and be like, I wasted 2 hours of my life. Like, what? Why? I need closure, and I like knowing that the truth eventually comes to light. That's probably why my absolute favorite show is Law and Order SVU. I just love seeing all the missing pieces finally come together, and to finally just every once in a while they'll have like a unsolved or like they didn't get brought to justice, but I'm satisfied. But believe it or not, it gets weirder. So stay tuned for the next part of the story. But hey, side note, maybe no one will see this channel besides me, myself, and I, but I hope you enjoy my lore as much as anyone else I've told it to throughout my life, after I found out anyways. I have healed from my past. I went to counseling. I have a wonderful life now. It's nice having a mind of my own and discovering my free will. And also, I have to tell the story the way I have to tell it right now, because it's just how things have led up to current events and how I remember things. And from the answers I was able to get, me and my mom had a heart-to-heart recently, and when I tell you, my mind is blown. And you guys will see. You'll see what I mean. But that's like at the end of this series, because I just found this out like a few months ago. And I've been sitting with it, thinking about it, wrote it all down in a document. And so I have it all there. Man, my life is crazy, guys. Well, see you guys next time.